depending on where you are in the world watching us. Thank you once again for joining us on a very insightful scholarship higher education event with changing the narrative. So today I'm excited about this one because his profile is so amazing. Um, he's so knowledgeable, very smart as well. Won loads of scholarships, and we have Peter here, Oyefolu, as our guest today to give us an enlightenment and also give us all the do's and don'ts, all the ways, the unique ways to get a scholarship or even look for scholarships. So without wasting much more time, I'm very excited. I'm always excited about our guest. I'm very excited about this one because he's young and he's done so well for himself. So without wasting much more time, Peter, the floor is yours. If you can give us a brief introduction about yourself, that would be great.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me here. I would say it's a great privilege being uh, in this place or presenting or discussing grad school. Just a brief about myself. My name is Peter Oyefolu. So I'm a Nigerian. Uh, I did my undergrad in University of Benin. I studied chemical engineering. Let me say I was privileged to graduate as the best graduating student in my department for 2019-2020 academic session. So after that, I was privileged again to become an Education USA Opportunity Funds Program scholar. So that was when everything changed for me.
Mhm.
Being an Education USA scholar put me to possibilities of studying in the US, especially from the fact that the limitations that I once had were covered. Okay, so you could be intelligent, you could be smart, you could have everything, but to study in the US is not child's place. It involves a lot of money. In
Mhm.
fact, from the application fees, talking about paying for international passports, paying for visa fee, paying for the standard test, paying for the flight. That's if at all you get the full funding from a
Mhm.
school, but you still have to pay the flight fee yourself before leaving the country. So for me, it was like a smooth ride in the sense that everything was paid for by the Education USA
That's
Opportunity Funds program. So I didn't spend it on my penny in the process. Yeah, and currently I'm a doctorate student, a PhD student in Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. Let me just bring in a caveat there. When you see polytechnic in the United States, is quite different from the polytechnic from countries colonized the British
mm,
by Britain, right? So in the US, like schools like MIT, Caltech, RPI, and the likes, they are under the categories of polytechnic,
okay.
right? They are STEM focused universities.
Mm.
That's why they call polytechnic. Yeah. So Rensselaer is the one of the oldest. I think the oldest,
Mhm.
1824. Yeah. So I'm doing a doctorate in chemical and biological engineering, and my research is on AAV gene therapy, downstream bioprocessing. So that's it. And I'm also like under a fellowship, which made the uh, the PhD journey much more smoother. So you can see that my journey has been a lot of privileges, right?
Yes, very
From the
good.
beginning down to the stage, yeah.
I
So
mean,
that
you've done well. It's and the fact that you kept going. Some people hit a spot and they're always talking about old glories, but I mean now you're doing a PhD and here you are trying to educate and give your knowledge to other people. So I think you're only going high, and I'm happy to have met you on LinkedIn and to follow your journey as well because I know
thank
you
you.
keep sharing stuff as well. So yeah, I'll be here like I said from the beginning, clapping for you and I'm rooting for you. Um,
Same here too.
But yeah, you're doing well. You're doing well.
Thank
And
you.
thanks for joining. Thanks for accepting our invitation to be here. I'm very excited to be here. So if you've just joined us, as the presentation and the whatnot is going on. If you have any question, please put it in the comment section, and we would do well to get Peter to answer it for you. If this is your first time, this is changing the narrative. We try to bring in guests who have scholarship backgrounds or know a lot about studying abroad, and it's a question and answers and so on and so forth. So every month we try to get a guest on. So if this is your first time, this is changing the narrative. Thank you for joining us. And without wasting much more time, I'll get back to you. I'll put you back on the spot, Peter,
Okay.
to go with what you share, what you have with us today.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. Yeah, so to add to read, I'm also the graduate representative for the National Society of of Black Engineers in RPI. So
Wow.
it's part of what I do, speaking about grad school
How do you
and
get time
encouraging
for
them.
your PhD and all of this representatives and committees and whatnot?
Yeah, so I'm someone who is passionate about changing people's life. Yeah, so I do that by enlightenment and by community participation. Yeah,
That's good.
so
And you're
I just
also
have
a
to create time for
co-founder
that.
or a founder as well, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm a founder of
Yeah,
the
EI.
Elite Book Readers
Yeah.
Club. Yeah, so we basically reshape human potentials through literature. So that's our
Okay,
major goal.
nice. So if you're listening and you need help with any literature review, you got your man here. Follow him if you don't follow him already. I mean, follow who knows Rode.
Yeah, thanks. Although it's basically on books. When I say
Okay.
literature, I'm talking about books like motivational books, self-help book,
Mm,
personal development book, books on personal development, on finance, and on emotional intelligence. Those are the three
okay.
areas we
Wow.
focus in the community. Yeah,
That's a lot.
yeah.
That's great stuff. That's great stuff. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let me know when you're ready to go into
Yeah,
the
I'm ready.
presentation. Okay. Here we go.
Okay, so we're talking about unlock your unique advantage for graduate school application. And before we go into the topic for today, the major thing we need to differentiate or we need to understand is that you can have a very good application or have a very good academic CV or have a very good potential, yet your you still didn't you still don't secure your desired admission. But one thing I've come to understand is that the difference between securing the admission and not securing the admission is just based on few things, just few parameters that could have been tweaked to change things or to turn things around. For instance, you could graduate with a perfect CGPA and still not get to the top schools.
Hmm.
Whereas you would have someone who would graduated with probably a 2.1 or a 4.0 CGPA, and the person is in the very biggest school that you're thinking of, like the likes of MIT, Harvard, Princeton. So, looking at it retrospectively, I've come to understand that it is not really just about the grades or some things that people kind of know. It is more on some few parameters that I'll be sharing in this conversation today. So you can go to the next slide. Okay, so let's talk about we'll be talking about the path after bachelor's degree for the case of those who are undergrads in our midst or listening to this session. We'll also differentiate between grad school and professional schools because they're not the same thing. And we'll streamline the conversation down to why graduate school, what are the application timelines, the basic requirements for applications, and how you can build a competitive profile, which is our main focus for this discussion. Okay, next slide, please. Yeah. So, what are the paths after bachelor's degree? So, for those that are undergrads here, okay, so you've received your certificate as Bachelor's of Science bachelor's of arts, bachelor's of engineering, or bachelor's of education, whatever bachelor's you received. Please, next slide. Okay, so you could decide to go for a job. Please, can you just press the next slide like 3 times?
Okay.
Sorry. Once again. Yeah, thanks. Okay. So after getting your undergrad, you could decide to go straight to a job or to get your career started. That's a very good part. At the same time, you could go for a master's degree. Typically, master's degrees are usually 1 to 2 years, depending on the school and depending on the program. Okay, so after a master's degree, you could go for a job directly, or you could go to get your PhD. So if you're getting a PhD after a master's degree, it is usually within 3 to 5 years. Yeah, 3 to 5 years. Okay, and after getting your PhD, you can then directly go to get a job. Another way is that from undergrad, you could directly get a PhD. Yes, I mean so. Okay, so you don't
Say
need
that
to go
again.
through you don't need to go through masters, you just need to go directly to PhD. Yeah, it's very possible, especially in the US,
Okay.
right? So yeah, the difference is that unlike the from masters to PhD application or phase, which I said is 3 to 5 years, the undergraduate to PhD period is more of 4 to 5 years as well.
Mm.
For both scenario, you could do up to 6 to 7 years, right? So, like I said, PhD is more on you. I mean, you determine how far you want to go. You determine how quick you want to end the PhD, but at maximum within 7 years, you should be done with the
Mm.
PhD. Else, the school will send you out of the school.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just normal. Okay, so like I said, you can go from undergrad directly to a PhD. Just that, like I said, for the 4 years is to account for the 1 year that you will spend
The
doing
master.
almost the same things like the master's students will do. And in some schools, like in my school, while you're doing your PhD, I could decide to get the master's along the way because my first year is basically master's related
Mm.
courses alongside research. But the beauty of it is that whatever research you're focusing on from your first year is what you keep working on till like you finish the PhD.
Mm.
So unlike when you go for a master's, then a PhD. Like when you go for a master's, you first do something. Then when you go for a PhD, you're not trying to learn another something again. So that's the difference. And you can also get an MNG, like from in my case, like Masters of Engineering. That's um, it's just like a theoretical master's. You're not doing research because you are still in the process of getting a PhD. But you decided to do more coursework
Mm.
that are required for a PhD. Yeah, so that's it. Next slide, please. Okay, so what was the difference between grad school and professional school? Yeah, so when we think about the graduate degree, we are referring to an academic training for academic discipline. So it's an advanced training. You are mostly trained to work in the academic, although you could get a job or stuff like that. But the training is concentrated on whatever you want to study. For instance, uh, like I said, I have a bachelor's in chemical engineering. If I'm doing a PhD or a master's in graduate degree related area, it has to have like a relation with what I have done at the bachelor's degree. Okay, so you can just press like next slide like 3 times. Okay, yeah, fine. Yeah, so when you go for a graduate degree, you either get a master's of science, master's of arts, or a PhD. But when we talk about professional degrees, it's more for a specific program. You could get a doctor of medicine, a master of business administration, masters of public health, masters of fine arts, Juris Doctor, that's for those in the law field, Masters of Education. Now you might be wondering what's the difference between all these titles. I'm sure you have seen many of these titles and you're confused, right? especially in the law field, when you have JD, you have LLM, you have LLD, so they're quite different. Now, let me put perspective to this. For graduate degree, you can't just say, for instance, you studied engineering and you want to do a master's science of science in, let me say, journalism, right? It doesn't relate.
Mm.
Uh, so, if at all, maybe there is a relationship between what you have done in undergraduate degree that you feel you can kind of connect the dots to journalism, yeah, that is fine. But the school will require you to take some prerequisite courses to make up for that. So most times, graduate degree is like a continuation of your undergraduate degree. Although that does not limit the fact that you cannot move from one department to the other. Yeah, you can, but you can't just switch randomly. You can't move from engineering to the sciences anyhow. You can't move from the sciences to the business anyhow when it comes to graduate degree. However, for professional degree is more about doing a particular program, right? So I studied chemical engineering. I could decide to go for a doctor of medicine. That's why you see people that are engineers, doctors, and lawyer at the same time, or engineers, accountants, and lawyers.
Mm.
Just one person appears in those facets. But when you look deeply, you'll see that the person has a core academic discipline. Every other firm are usually professional degrees. So I could I could be so passionate about law and go for a JD. So nobody will tell me, Peter, you need to go back to undergrad to study law. No, all I need to do is just go to the law school and I will get my JD. Right? It's not like is I'm downplaying one after the other. I'm just saying that one is more focused on the program, one is focused, the other is focused on academic discipline. Yeah, so that's a major difference. Yeah, kind of thing. So why graduate school? There are many reasons why people choose graduate school. So it could be that you want to become the next Albert Einstein, or maybe um, the different scientists we have all over the world, or probably to, I might be a bit biased because I'm science person. So whatever thing that might be the reason for pursuing grad school, it's important to know that reason and you should hold that reason keenly to yourself. Reason being that for you to be able to sustain your graduate school, your why must be strong enough because it's usually tough, right? Especially if you're going for a PhD. Yeah, so like I said, your reason could be because you want to master a particular subject, or it could be because you want to get higher pay. Yeah, everybody needs to make money, right? So the definitely the salary you would get as an undergrad will not be the salary you get as a master's degree holder. It will not be the same as the salary you would get as a PhD holder, right? Although that might not be true in this world and time where things are changing.
Mhm.
So you really need to know the why because that why statement would reflect in your statement of purpose.
Yes.
That why statement will reflect when you start the program, and that why statement is what will keep you in the program. Else, you would have to leave the program, not because you are not fit for it, but because it demands a lot and you'll fail many times. You will fail many times. Let me say it again. You will fail many times, especially for a PhD.
Mm.
But that's how research are made, right? Research are made from failures. If
Mm.
it was easy, everyone would have been a researcher. But it's only cut out for the few, and you can be among the few too. Yeah. So let's continue. So yeah, we can move to the next slide. So let's talk about the fall semester application timeline. I mean, there are so many application timeline, but to avoid saying too much about the application timeline, I just streamlined it to the fall semester because this is the typical period most students apply to schools. So for the fall semester application timeline in the US, typically like this. I think it's not far fetched from that in Canada, UK, and some other countries. Though some start earlier than usual, or some start later than the other. Okay, so within June, most times I advise people that are thinking about grad school to always prepare like 12 months before the program. That's the best time to prepare for grad school, 12 good months before the application at all, because it takes a lot. You can't just wake up one morning and say, "Oh, I think uh, I need to go to grad school." Maybe because you are frustrated by the situation in your country, or maybe you just feel like this is like a way out of your trenches, out of the poverty, out of whatever you're going through. But you can't just wake up one morning, because there are some required antecedents that should be documented in your story when you are applying to this school. So you need to like prepare it. So what do you do typically during that period? I will discuss that later on, but let me just focus on this application timeline. So from June to August, what you should be doing. Don't forget that I said like 12 months before this period, right? But let's say you're now in June to August, you started very late. What should you do in June to within June to August? You should do more of university search, have like your own list of schools you are considering to apply to, because you can start the process and not finish many, or you miss out on deadlines because you haven't systemized your process. So I recommend people to always have a Google Sheet where you can list the schools, list the faculties you want to work with, list the deadlines, what are the requirements, what do you need to meet up. Okay, like make it workable. I mean, make the Google Sheet workable in a way that you will know, you will document when you have applied, when you have not applied, what you need to do next, and stuff like that. Yeah, so that's what you should kind of prepare for during that June to August. Then from September to October, you should start filing your applications. By then, you should have your letters of recommendations ready. You should have like the first drafts of your statement of purpose ready, or personal statements ready. Um, you should have, or you should be preparing to take one of the standardized tests. I will discuss that subsequently. During that period, I also feel you should be making some touches to your academic CV, or taking some courses that can augment your CV, right? I'll discuss that also. So from October to December, it's usually like the period of opening so many application. Provided that you have a working Google Sheet, you'll be able to track your application. So most times, some schools' applications end November 30th. Like I think the likes of MIT ends the application uh, November 30th, right? But some other schools end the application fees December, maybe the first week of December, some the first week of January, maybe the first of January to be precise. Okay, so by then you should have clicked submission. Also, within the October to December, January period, you should be applying for maybe some financial aids like application fee waivers and the likes, or reaching out to professors, sending cold mails. Uh, I think I will discuss more about why you need to send cold mails and the likes, so I don't run ahead of myself. But these are the things you should be doing within that period. So after January, it's not like you just relax. Oh, you submitted the applications. I mean, to submit the application is one thing. In as much as you might want to pray or do all those stuff, right? You still need to strategize. How do you do that? Is by communicating with professors, by preparing for interviews when the need may arise. There's some schools that you'll have to interview with the professor, you have to interview with the admission committee, or different things could come up, right? So that usually come up during February to March. Then still around January, February, March, down to April to May, you start getting your admission decisions one after the other, right? Some gives admission decision very early. I remember getting my admission decision as early as January. I think I got one in December. I got some in January, some February. I think the last was in March, right? So I got four fully funded scholarship into University of Florida, University of Notre Dame, University of Oklahoma, and RPI. So I chose RPI because of the faculty and the research they are working on. I'm kind of interested in their research. Like I said, I'll discuss that later on. It's not really about the school, it's about who you'll be working with and
Mm.
if they have the facility to do that job you're interested in. Okay, so next slide. Yeah, so what are the basic requirements for grad school? Um, it's very obvious. Everybody needs a transcript, right? You can't just in the continuation of where you stopped, right? So you have to provide a testament of how you have done so far as an undergrad before proceeding to the next stage of your career or to the next stage of your academic, right? Then you have the application fees. There are some schools are adamant there's no fee waivers. MIT gives no fee waivers. Princeton gives no fee waivers. Stanford gives, I don't know, maybe because I was an Education USA scholar, so I had fee
Mm.
waiver for that. I was part of the diversity clause. Yeah, so there are, all schools usually have the diversity clause. So it's good to be members of those community. I will mention one of those community later on. Yeah, so for some schools, you can just shoot them a mail and they will waive the application fee for you, right? uh, especially if you're from Africa, we know the conversion rate is
No
not
joke.
is yeah, it's something is in
Mhm.
fact it's in fact disheartening. I don't think English will be very good at this because
The conversion is not converting.
it's not converting. I'm telling you, right? So yeah, we have the statement of purpose. So in my own from my own perspective, your grades is just one of the many things, right? So your grade is just like a door opener, right? It does not grant you, it grants you access to be considered, right? But does not determine if you'll be considered. Okay, right? What's really determines if you'll be considered is your statement of purpose, your academic CV, and your letter of recommendation. Some schools mostly with standardized test scores, but it comes handy maybe when all the options are like very tight. Maybe they're in between selecting you and another candidate. Two of you had a very good statement of purpose, a very good academic CV, a very good letter of recommendation. But they're just looking for what's that extra stuff that we can use to differentiate these two candidates. Well, I think this guy did the GRE, this guy didn't do the GRE. Uh, that's if the school maybe made GRE compulsory, but if the school made it optional, they won't even consider the GRE. But some professors since grad school, when it comes to grad school, the decision is largely on the professors, right? So the professor can say, I think because of the GRE of this person's GRE, I want to consider the candidates over the other, right? So like I said, there are so many parameters that may be involved, right? Okay, so then you submit the application form. Okay, so I'll talk in depth on these requirements one after the other as we proceed in the conversation. So next slide, please. So like I mentioned standardized tests. So these are the common tests you will take for grad school. For those in the law field, you would take LSAT, that's the law school admission test. Um, for those in the business in the finance world, you would take GMAT, that's the graduate management admission test. For most people, you will take the GRE, the dreaded GRE. That's the graduate record examination, right? Is I call it dreaded GRE because it does not give regard to how intelligent you are or
Mm.
whether you had a perfect CGPA or you don't have a perfect CGPA. GRE is just a test for those who are diligent. It's just a diligence test in my own view because the questions are repetitive. So if you have practiced GRE for like 3 months,
Mm.
you will do well in GRE.
Okay.
But if you're not practiced well in GRE, you won't do well, right? So it's just about your ability to get good resource to prepare and to also spend time preparing. You can't just, I mean, if you have not seen the questions before, you might get it, but it's the time. It's not a game of it's not a game of how intelligent you are, it's how smart you are in solving those things. Something that could take you like just a fraction of seconds, you could spend time using like 2 hours to solve it, which no one will give you time. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, Jerry. So in my own perspective, I would say target a GRE score of above 300 over 340. If you can get 320, um, 320 over 340, that would be fine. That would be great. Especially for those that have like of an average CGPA. When I say average CGPA, right? So for most schools in the US, I know of, and some other schools, the minimum is usually 3.0 over 4.0 in their own scale. So even though you're dealing with a 5 point scale or 7 point scale, you have to convert it down to a 3.0 over 4.0. There are platforms you can use to do this conversion. There are free platforms, right? Like you use WES IGPA, that's WES I space, I mean WES space IGPA. Or you can use Scholaro, that is Scholaro, right? To do the conversion to the desired scale that you want to use for your application. So once you can meet if for instance you had like a 3.8 or three above a very strong CGPA, right? I mean that will kind of make up if the school said GRE is optional, right? To make up for you, so you don't really need to do GRE if the school says it's optional because the main essence of GRE is to test your critical reasoning skills, right? Can you are you critical enough? Can you look at problems and find solution to them quickly? Like I said, GRE is not about you able to solve the problem. It's about how smart you can solve the problem, right? So I mean, life challenges, especially at PhD level, require a lot of smartness. Be able to see things from different perspectives, unlike the conventional way, right? So if you have an ICGPA, that could make up for the fact that you are critical enough. I mean, for you to have that kind of CGPA, definitely you are smart enough to get the job done. However, if you don't have very strong CGPA, doing a GRE would be a very big plus for you. I mean, to make you able to compete with those that have ICGPA. For instance, if you can get a 320 or above, I'm sure. I mean, that kind of give you ample chance to be able to compete more on that cadre, right? So that's one thing about the GRE test. Then you also have the test for English. Yeah, so you could take Duolingo, you could take IELTS, TOEFL. So I didn't put IELTS here because I mean I think when I was preparing the slide, it was for a US kind of package, so you can put IELTS. IELTS is UK. Yeah, yeah. So IELTS is International English Language Testing System. You can do IELTS. You can take TOEFL. But if you're taking IELTS, you must take the academic, not the general training. So TOEFL is purely academic. Now, some schools are also considering Duolingo. However, I think first thing you want to do is to check the school to see the requirements. So some schools usually have uh, waivers for language proficiency for some countries, right? Nigeria is usually one of them. Ghana, I think. I mean, there are a lot of them. You just check that first. Some schools are still adamant on the fact that you must do IELTS or GRE. I think one of the schools I applied to made me, that was University of Oklahoma, made me take IELTS despite having a Duolingo score already. I had a Duolingo score, just like it was paid for. I mean, I didn't have to struggle for it. So, but I had to pay for IELTS with my money. Like I said, I told you I was under a scholarship. So because of that, school needed at least IELTS or TOEFL, and IELTS was quite easier to to ace.
Mm.
Okay, so that's that about English language proficiency. If you have the money, take it. I would recommend it. Reason being that aside from the fact that the school probably had waived it for your country, you might need that to showcase the fact that you'll be a good teaching assistant, because teaching assistantship will require you to do a lot of communication, to converse with people, to converse with the students. So it is this language proficiency test that confirm that yes, you are not just the scholar in book, you know how to converse, you understand English, or you, even though English is your second language, at least you should be fluent in it. But in my case, I don't think English is Nigerian's second language. It's our first language anyway, but it is what it is. Let's continue. Yeah, so that's
So I've got a question on that if
okay.
you would want to answer it now.
Okay,
So Pascal is asking, most schools are waiving GREs. Do we still need to write it?
okay, so if the schools are waiving no, there's a difference between optional and
Hmm.
recommended. Yeah,
Okay.
two different things. Yeah. So if the school said, okay, no, let me not say optional. Okay, let me say optional, recommended, and not required. Okay, so some schools will tell you not required. I know Princeton said not required for chemical engineering. I think Stafford said not required. So it means that there is not even a spot for you to to plug in your GRE score. And if at all you decide to plug it in one way or the other, it will not be considered at all because it is not required. So when I say it's optional, optional means that you might decide to take it, they might give it a look, and they might not give it a look, right? It's because it's optional.
Okay.
That's if you can afford it. It is recommended means that, oh, if we happen to be sixes and seven in determining whether we should give admission or not, your GRE can be like your saving grace. So in that case, they are calling it recommended. And more of the reason why some schools call it recommended is basically for the professors, because I know some schools will tell you it's optional, and the professor you want to work with will insist that you take it
Hmm.
to come to his own lab. So they just kind of, okay, if maybe some professors will require you to take it, some will not require you to take it, then let's make it recommended so that if you take it and the professor likes the GRE score, he will take you in. The other professor does not consider GRE score, will still take you in.
Okay.
That's yeah, it's just to help you. But however, like I said, if you don't have a very strong CGPA, whether it is recommended, it's optional or not required, I will advise you to take the GRE and give it your best shot, because this is your saving grace. It's like it's what really helps you to show to the school that your your undergrad transcript is not a complete testament of who you are.
Hmm.
Yeah, so
Okay.
because even the scholars or the so-called scholars don't get high scores in GRE.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And I
Yeah.
think there's a second part to it. Must we have our transcript evaluated in West before uploading? So WES.
Yeah. So for the West, I think lately I've been getting some discussions on these or some messages on these. I don't know if things have changed, but I know schools usually read West evaluation. However, if you have like a separate degree, for instance, maybe you did a pre-degree or maybe a diploma before doing your undergraduate degree, your bachelor's. In that case, you need a WES evaluation or a credential evaluation process to merge your diploma together with your undergraduate degree. However, if it is just a single degree that you got from just one particular school, I don't think you need to do worse. Like I said, it depends on what the school demands. But if definitely, even if the school demands you not to do worse, and you're having separate degrees from diploma done in, or a pre-degree done in another school and another one done in another schools. I mean, in that case, you just have to do credential evaluation, whether with WES or with EC, anyone that works.
Hmm.
Yes.
Okay. So Chisong will answer your question, but where it fits in the presentation, it will be easier so that it flows. So if not forgotten,
Yeah.
we'll bring it. We'll answer your question. All right.
Okay.
Mm.
Thanks. Okay, so I know my slide is looking messy at this period, but the excess of the slide is to show you how an academic CV looks like. So your academic CV, it is you have the education section, like it's much more different from the CV you use for job, right? So
Mm.
I have different CV. I have CV. Even till now, I still update my CV. I have a professional CV that I used to apply to maybe anything that might come up on board. Like CV is like your life. You have to keep updating it, not when you need it. Then I also have like academic CV, right? So the major things we want to see in an academic CV is your education, your research experience, very important. Publications, if you do have, we want to see the conferences you attended, the awards you had, the leadership activities you performed, the volunteering activities, the teaching experience, the communities you belong to, and stuff like that, right? So I placed this CV here so that you can know what to work on for those whose CV are not competitive enough, which I will talk about. Uh, that's for some who are just beginning the phase. Now, for those that are like in the dying minute of the application and are still considering for 2024,
Mm.
right? So there's still some things you could do before you close or before you click that submit button. Okay. So once again, education segment. For instance, maybe you just have a bachelor's alone. Just put your bachelor's. We don't need your primary school. We don't need your secondary school. We don't need your college or middle class. We don't need your high school. Yeah, right. Your college result. We don't need that. What we need is just your universities or your polytechnics. Like I said, that's polytechnic in the case of countries colonized by the Brits, right? Like I said, there's a difference between polytechnic in the US and polytechnic in countries colonized by the Brits. It just so yeah. So other things we want to see in that education section is your CGPA properly spelled out. Then convert it to the scale of the school or the applications you'll be sending to, right? Include your undergraduate thesis. You could put in the course related subjects, or I mean the related subjects. Then I think those are the major things. If you have a master's, also include the two like that. Yeah. So after that, the next thing should be your research experience, your experience as an undergraduate researcher, your experience as a research scientist or assistant, or different kind of research experience, right? So in this case, like the one you have on the slide, you have the person enumerating the different researches that the person has done throughout his study. You can see the person's a master's student, so that's why you have that lot of research experience. Yours might not be one research experience, can be two. Don't scream. Yeah, so therefore the publications are really, really important. Okay, let me come from this perspective so you can see what grad school is like. I mean grad school, I'm talking about a PhD. That's if you're going for a bachelor's to PhD or a master's to PhD. Now, for master's degree, it is not too much of a hassle in the sense that you are not really doing too much of research in the sense for the fact that you can't do much eye impacting research within 2 years or 1 year. So master's courses are heavily on courseworks like subject, right? So they are thought masters and they are research masters, right? So thought masters are usually like no research, no thesis, just courses, right? But for research masters, you have to do small research, right? Not too heavy like the PhD approach. Another thing is that masters are funded relatively. And I mean relatively is that if you're not getting scholarships from maybe like Erasmus Mundus, Chevening, Gate Cambridge, uh, Commonwealth Share Scholarship, and the likes, uh, you have to fund your masters with your own money.
Mm.
So since you be the one funding your masters with your money, so there's less demand because the competition is not as fierce as the case of PhD. So PhD is usually too expensive to many people, and even for the let me say in case of America now, even for the American citizens, they cannot afford a PhD. I'm telling you, you
Mm.
can't afford a PhD. So
Mm.
PhD usually come with funding because the average tuition you spend or the tuition and stipend in a year can be up to 90,000
Wow.
dollars, $90,000. If you think you can save for it, I don't think your dad is $40 or maybe that even though it's Dangote or that's for those in Nigeria. You cannot still afford it because do the calculations in your head. 90,000 times let's say the conversion rate is 1,000. So 90,000 times 1,000, that is 90 million, right?
Wow.
90 million just for 1 year, just 1 year.
Just for
And
one
you
year.
and
Wow.
you do that for like 4 to 5 years or 6
Yes.
years. So
Hmm.
you can't afford it, right? So usually PhD comes with funding. And I will talk about the different funding that exists. So this I went I went towards that direction so that you can see the reason for building a competitive profile. So like I said, the guys are not they're not share givers, or how do you say that? Yeah, share givers. It's not like they like you, they don't like you. It's just that PhD or coming to do a PhD or a master's or research masters, as the case may be, is a cheap labor. Yeah, I'm free to
Yeah.
say that it's
Yeah.
cheap labor because the guys that are the professors are applying for funds. They're applying to get grants, and when they get the grant, they need somebody to do the job,
Hmm.
right? So you are the person who comes on board to do the job. They cannot employ an outsider to do the job because it's a job that requires the thinking skills. It is highly brain or mental related. So, and it's something that you have to be passionate about before you can venture on it. If your passion is driven by money, you cannot do research. So that's why PhD students are usually the best to do the job because they're not driven by money, they're driven by the research, they're driven by the passion, and along the way they get their degrees, right? So if you see PhD from a job perspective, you will you would channel that into how you write your applications, how you prepare your CVs and the likes. Okay, so let me switch the conversation. Imagine that you are the professor, you're an associate professor or assistant professors in some cases, and you just got a grant of, let's say the grant is about maybe $2 million, right? There will always be a deadline to that grant. You need the grant to be, I mean, you need the work done. You cannot go to the lab because you don't have the time. You have to keep writing for another proposal. So you need PhD students or PhD applicants that can do the job.
Yeah.
So in that case, what do you think you'll be considering? Do you think you'll be looking at somebody with a very high CGPA alone? No.
Mm.
What matters to you is that does this guy have the skill sets to get the job done?
Um,
Does this guy have any experience with research? Does he know how to do research? Because you don't have the time to start training the child, or I say child. Does the student like? I mean, you don't have the time to start training the students on how
mm,
to do research, right? Another thing is that as a student show the passion through making publications, because it takes time to write out a publication. So you need, if the candidate has shown that kind of enthusiasm towards writing publication, definitely the student should understand the grit that is required in doing a PhD. So you're not looking at somebody with just a very good CGPA. You're looking at somebody that can get the job done.
um,
Yeah, so emphasis on getting the job done. So when you come from that perspective, and when you're pitching in your code mail, you're not pitching like, oh, yeah, oh, you're not sounding like as if you're bragging about your achievements. No, you're not. In fact, the man does not care about whatever you have achieved. At the back of the man's mind is, can this guy get the job done?
yeah.
If not, I think just get away, right? So that is why you need to ensure that your academic CV, your SOP is a channel towards that direction. Okay, let's continue. I think I'll spend more time on some things than required. Yeah, so like I said, I've talked about different ways of funding. You can self-fund, not possible, red flag. Collect loans, not possible. Yeah, it's possible, but you can get loans for masters. You can't get loans for PhD.
PhD. That's a lot. That's a lot of money for a study or research.
Yeah, yeah, in fact, when you tell the consular officer of your
Mm.
country that you're going for a PhD, you're getting this loan, in fact, those with that it's a big asterisk,
Mhm.
because even if you have 11 million, you have 20 million, you have 30 million. I'm talking about 90 million for just 1 year
Money.
in some cases. So it's not, loan is not an option. So when you think about finance, the only option you have, or the most or the best option, is financial aid. And financial aid comes in forms of scholarships, assistantships, and fellowships. Um, so when we say scholarships, scholarships can be like maybe for some grants, some external scholarships. Okay, or yeah, it could come like external fellowships also. So assistantship could be in the case of research assistantship, teaching assistantship, or graduate research and teaching assistantship. Yeah. So you just work for 20 full-time employment. That's 20 hours per week.
Mm.
Yeah, it's just, but the thing is that you'll be working on something related to your research. It's not like you are working on something that will not help you academics. So you are doing both study and working, but so it's really a fine thing because you're learning in the process. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you get a fellowship, that's amazing. Like I said, I'm on the fellowship for my first year. For the second year, I might not be on the fellowship, but I'm also working on applying to fellowships so I can enjoy this smooth ride as I
Mm.
go on. Yeah. Okay. Move to the next slide. Okay. So how do you build a competitive profile? Just as I've mentioned, that it is more about how you can get the job done. If you're considering a PhD, for a master's, you don't need to do too much. You just need to have a competitive profile. Like you can do some of these things that PhD applicants usually do, and that will kind of set you above most applicants. But yeah, I always recommend PhD, although it's not cut out for everyone, in the sense that PhD usually come with funding and it's masters. Yeah, so masters is also come with funding. However, if you're really focused on masters, I will advise that you apply to the likes of Chevening, Commonwealth Share Scholars, Erasmus Mundus, and the likes. I mean, if you can get any of those packages, it will really help you,
Mm.
right? But if you don't get those package, have to get funding from masters is a bit shaky. I might be mistaken. So one of the ways you can build this competitive profile is to take courses, right? So on Coursera, you could take writing the sciences, you could take machine learning specialization, You could take different kind of courses. If you go to for those in the sciences, like I said, I will be a bit biased to the sciences. I can only think about what I know or what worked. Yeah, I can't talk about what did not work. So you could go to Elsevier Research Academy, Elsevier Research Academy, or go to researchacademy.elsevier.com. Try to take the writing for science for research. Under the writing for research, they have a lot of packages like fundamentals of manuscript preparation. I remember taking this. There are courses you can finish within 1 hour, 20 minutes, 4 minutes. Some will take like maybe maximum of 5 hours. So I
Mm.
will recommend you taking fundamentals of manuscript preparation and also taking systematic review 101. I mean, you'll see other packages there that will help you. So, I mean, this kind of help you like helps you fill fill up the gap for not having a publication. For instance, if you don't have any publication at all, you still want to prove to the man or to the professor that you are not a novice when it comes to research. And you can't do that with words of mouth. You can only do that by showing. Is like I said, in all your applications, it's all about showing that you can do the job. So, oh, I have taken those courses, I've taken this course, I've taken this, I have the certification in this, blah, blah, blah. So I understand how to do research and I can get the job done, blah, blah, blah. Right?
Mm.
That's what you write in your SOP and stuff. So, another thing is to build the right skill set for the program. So, like I said, the professors are giving grants, and these grants are time based. So, maybe for the particular grant they got, they need some specialized in machine learning. Even if the professor like your application packets so much, because the job is so time focused and time constrained, it cannot bring you into that research because you don't have machine learning experience. If you tell the professor, oh, I will learn it, blah, blah, it's not possible because when you come in, the the courseworks are heavy. You won't
Mhm.
have time to learn those skills. If at all you want to rush it, it will really be heavy on you. I mean, I don't think the professor is trying to make life uncomfortable for you, in as much as you are eager to get any opportunity. No, you can't just jump on any opportunity
Mm.
because by the time you jump in, you will jump out. It's as simple as that. Yeah. So next slide.
So on this one, I think it
Okay.
will probably be a good point to answer this question if you don't mind. So
Okay.
Chisom Chisom, I think that's the name. Yeah. So he's asking. You mentioned you had opportunities that helped you or made your application very smooth. So if you could share some of these opportunities, that would be great.
Okay. Yeah. Before I share the opportunity, I think I'm freezing out. Let me quickly close my window, my
No.
doors. Okay. Yeah. Thanks. Uh, I don't want to go out to turn on the heater. Sorry, it's really cold now. Yeah, so for the opportunities, like I said, the one he's talking about is referring to Education USA Opportunity Funds program. So
Okay.
I think it's across most countries. I think they are in 160 countries all over the world. And yeah, they give consulting and stuff like that. I mean, they are US uh, consulting center for education, the only consulting center for education when it comes to the US in different countries, right? So um, to apply to the program, I think in the case of Nigeria, I think the person is from Nigeria. You would have to prepare ahead till around March. I think the application usually starts around March, April, right? Uh, they will make a publicity on that, or they might not, but just to reduce the number of applicants. But I think if that opens, I would definitely maybe share it, or you'll see it from some platforms like that.
mm,
By the time you apply for it, the major thing they are checking out for are two things. One is you're academically sound, right? I mean, you have what it takes to get fully funded scholarships. So all the things that have been mentioned concerning building a competitive profile are the stuff they also look at, because they don't give you the money. They only give you the money when they see that you would be able to get full ride, fully funded scholarships in the US specifically, right? So if you have those stuff I've mentioned in your CV and stuff like that, in your SOP, right? Yeah, they give you a thought. Then the second check, or the second parameter they check, is low income earner, right? So you might have a very competitive profile, very sound, very good. I mean, perfect to get a fully funded scholarship, but I mean, you're from a rich background, yeah. So they can give you, because the program is called opportunity funds. Like, it is for those who peradventure, without the intervention of Education USA, they
mm.
won't be able to get into the US. Like, they don't have any cousin, any uncle, any brother,
No rich
anybody
auntie.
that can help them, or no auntie that can help them get their dreams right. So remember when I was speaking, I said, if not for Education USA, I don't think I'll be here, right? So because they, even if I might be smart enough to get into the US, but I don't think I can afford it. I don't think I have any uncle or auntie anywhere that can help me achieve this dream. Yeah, so that's it. So whatever you're doing now to apply to schools is the same thing that you will need to do to apply to those programs. Yeah, so it's not different. At the same time, there are also other scholarships, like in Nigeria. I can talk about Nigeria because I'm a Nigerian. Yeah, so we have like ISI, that's I Scholar Initiative. I think there is Michael Taiwo scholarships, and there are pretty lot of scholarships there out there that helps you from the application phase, right? So you might want to check them out. Okay, I think we can continue on that. Yeah. Okay, so let's go back to building a competitive profile. Like I said, your publication matters. However, if you don't have a publication, there's some things that you should have as writing samples. Number one is your undergraduate thesis. Obviously, you did a thesis before you can be given a bachelor's. So go back to that thesis, refine it, and make it in a way that it is publishable. But just in case your test results are not publishable, um, I will just say that you could just make a draft that doesn't really include the test result, and like document a reason why you cannot publish the test results, right? But when I say publish now, you're not publishing on peer-reviewed journals. You're publishing on uh, what we call, I'm trying to remember the name. It's not preprint. It's like an archive where you drop research, right? So those publication, or those stuff there is just to help you have a link that you can connect to your CV. That, oh, this stuff I'm telling you, I'm not just telling you with words of mouth. You can click this link to look at it, although it's not peer reviewed, but at least I know what it means to write a thesis. Okay.
Mm,
And for instance, if you have a master's, you can also include that. Then for some people that maybe have some course papers, like I said, it differs for different field. Maybe if you're not in the sciences, maybe in the arts, you could have written some fine thesis. Now, this thesis might just be for a particular course, right? If that thesis is something that you consider intellectual or sound, include that, right? It doesn't really have to be something gigantic that has gone through peer review, although just peer reviewed applications, I mean, publications speak volume. However, you still want to show that you understand, you know how to write. I mean, that's the major thing. You want to show that you know how to write, you know how to think. You know how to put your thoughts into writing, and you know how to get the job done. Yes, yes. So for some profession, you might not be able to write publications because of the demand of that area. At least you can still try to write media articles. And thankfully, LinkedIn has made things even much more easier. There are a lot of comments, I think contributions you can
Situations, yeah.
include on LinkedIn. Yeah, so you could just take out your time and write a very good contribution on a particular topic that relates to your research area, right? Do your research, do the thoughts. And now nobody needs to peer review your stuff. You just want to put it somewhere and then get a link. So you can do that, get a link and include that in your CV. So it's just that you will not put it under uh, publications, you put it under maybe writing samples, just to make up for your lack of publication. Like I said, some research area does not require publications. For instance, if you're applying to journalism, a PhD in journalism, I mean, the major thing the person wants to see is they have your own blog, right? And on your blogs, the I mean, there'll be tons of writing samples. So what you might want to show is that maybe you had like 7K views on this blog, or maybe this blog got a lot of stuff, or this kind of feedbacks, because that is what the guy is ready to see. So the major thing is know what think backward, in the sense that look at try to be in the position of the advisor or the school. Then look at how would you select yourself, considering your strength and your weaknesses, and try to make up for the strengths. Try to make up for the weakness, and strengthen your strength, right? So I think that's how you can do that. Then even if you cannot write publications, or even if you have publications, try to attend conferences within your research area or within the research scope. It will be very, very good. So you could just like attended conference this, or you presented at a particular conference. It does not need to be a very, very big conference, because these people, they don't even know the conferences that exist in your country. All they can see is just national something, and some conferences can just be in one small room, but the name of the conference will be international something something something, right?
Mm.
Yeah. So present there, it doesn't matter. I mean, all they see is the international this and this and that. Nobody will go to the web and search for international this and that, right? Definitely there should be a link to it. It's very important to always link your work. That's if there's link provided. Okay. So also join communities like Black in AI. I think if you're a member of Black in AI, you will get application fee waivers to so many schools, even the top schools. Join Education USA in your country. That's if you're considering USA. I'll always be an advocate for Education USA, because they helped me. And aside from helping me, they've helped a lot of people, not just from the opportunity funds, now from general advising, because they give tons of advice, guidance that you need to know concerning applying to the US, right? So, I mean, they are never wrong. If Education USA tell you it's like this, they're not giving you second-hand information, they're giving you first-hand information, because they are the only registered and recognized consulting educational consulting agency for the US. Okay, so another programs you can want to consider is like the Lives of Aspirants Leaders program by Harvard. Take a lot of these skills, should I say skills or leadership training that are competitive,
Mm.
right? The school will also want to look at, can you add value to my school, right? So in the SOP, I will discuss that later. It is not just about how intellectual you are, it's also about what do you bring to the society. And like I said, it is more about showing than telling. The only way you can show that is you competing for some leadership course like Yali. I know of Yali, I know of some UN SDG committees. I'm just looking for one. that relate with your research interest. Maybe you're trying to solve a problem on clean energy, that's SDG 7, or maybe you're trying to solve a problem on environment sustainability, that's SDG 13. That is yeah. So just look for organizations like in that research area or in that area and join them. It will help you to be able to write some things in your SOP and in your academic CV. I remember, like, I'm a member of sustivibes.org. Um, so in my SOP, I wrote about uh, the outreach we did to some market women in Lagos, in the busiest market in, I think, in Lagos or in Africa generally, Oshodi markets, right? It was on environmental sustainability, which kind of aligns with my research on environmental sustainability. That was when I was applying. Yeah, so I kind of married it. Like I said, it's all about showing what you can do and what you have done to prove to them that you can do what they want you to do. Yeah, so that's the way it works. So, like I said, it's all about building. Just little things can be what will differentiate you from other applicants, right? So we can move to the next slide. Okay, I think I have a question here. Is how important is your undergraduate research in applying for grad school? Also, it depends on the phase you are in. If you are uh, if you're a master's student, definitely, your master's research will also play crucial role, more than, not more than per se. So, like I said, one thing I've come to know the US for is that they're not too big on what you have done in undergraduate. They're heavy on your passion, especially if you're going to a school that you would not be attached to a professor from the beginning. Now, let me make that clear. I talked about fundings, right? Talked about assistantship. So there are some professors that make a request for research assistants. In that case, it is your professor that will be funding your program, your stay in the school through the grant he has received. So from the outset of you joining the school, you'll be working on that research, right? In that case, what you did as an undergrad really matters because the professor wants to be sure that, oh, you have what it takes to do the job. I mean, you have an experience, you have an exposure, right? Even if what you did as an undergrad, it does not relate to that stuff, you still want to be able to show the man that you have passion for it. So there are two things: what you did as an undergrad, and what you are passionate about. Because 90% of the time, it is the passion that will take you throughout the process. I mean, you can leave the country, being so happy you have left the country, but you'll be living in complete sadness, complete regret, because you are doing something you're not passionate about.
Passionate about.
Yeah, you would struggle. Like I said, you will fail many times, especially for a PhD. But because you have the passion is what will push you through than the facade of being in grad school, right? So it is, on the one hand, yes, your undergraduate research, on the other hand, passion. So, for instance, you could study petroleum engineering. We all know that petroleum engineering has phased out, right? The world is going into sustainability, so you can marry that into the reason why you're switching to chemical engineering or into energy research, stuff like that, right? I mean, you could do anything. For instance, while I was applying to grad school, my emphasis was on heterogeneous catalysis and synthetic biology a bit because my undergraduate thesis was on heterogeneous catalysis. So that was where I had like a strong point to prove. However, the publications that I had were not just restricted to heterogeneous catalysis; they were in the areas of synthetic biology and sustainability as a whole, right? So I was able to dance around, but still streamline my application to my area of strength, because you don't want to focus on your weakness, you want to focus on your strength.
Mm.
However, when I got my multiple offers, right, I looked within. Okay, this there was a particular offer I got that was to strictly work on what I did as an undergrad on heterogeneous catalysis. But I knew I never loved heterogeneous catalysis. Like I really didn't like it. What I wanted was more into the bio, right? So I went for the other offer that gave me freedom, and now I'm working on gene therapy.
Mm.
So it's not really about just what you did undergrad. It's about what you're interested in. Okay, yeah. So next slide. Okay, yeah, yeah. This was intentional. Yeah, I don't make my slide this bulky, but I just cut out posts from my platform, my LinkedIn post, LinkedIn page. So you can go to my LinkedIn page and scroll down. You'll see some posts on statement of purpose. Okay, so if you go to my page, I think I have one post on SOP, that's the beginning phase. Then I also have another post on some other things you need to know about SOP, right? So when I say SOP, I'm thinking about statement of purpose. So I've reviewed many SOP so far, and I don't think I'm ready to review any other SOP. I will let me draw these caveats. Let me draw these caveats so people don't come to my DM with a lot of SOP, because I mean grad school is really time consuming,
It is.
so I don't really have the time. However, if you go through this post, you would be so good enough to write your SOPs. Now, in my second post on SOP, I embedded a link that contains a Google Drive link that contains some files, samples of SOPs, textbooks, a particular textbook on SOP, which was made by Donald Asher. That's the graduate admission essays. I mean, there are tons of samples on even on academic CV on different things on how you can write application fee waivers, how you can do different kind of things. So everything you need to apply to grad school, they are in that Google Drive. The different samples you need. And if that was not enough, go through my post, right? I explain some things. So the major thing I just want to highlight when it comes to statement of purpose or personal statement is that it is not about you. It is about you in doing the work. Yeah, so because I've read SOPs where the writer is basically just showboating.
Mm.
Showing, oh, I did this, I did that, I did this, I did that, I did this. Who cares? You're the first graduate student, and so what?
Mm.
Right? I mean, we can see that in your academic CV. I had a CGPA of 5.0 over 5.0, and so what? We can see that in your transcript.
Mm.
I, I had several awards, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? We can see that in your academic CV. So people repeat the same thing they have on their transcripts and on their CV in their SOP, which is not the case. So when we say statement of purpose, from the word statement of purpose, PhD is I remember when I was conversing with Afua, I said PhD is a focused journey, it's a journey of purpose, it's streamlined to achieving a particular aim. So we need to they want to see if you have a particular aim you want to achieve. No, you cannot be here and there and there. No, you cannot sound desperate.
Mm.
Let me just leave the country. Whatever they give me, I will take. I'm telling you, when you leave the country and they give you whatever they want to give you will beg to go back to your country.
You find a different level of frustration here.
And if at all you decide to quit the school and just hang around, you would live like you will live a miserable. The person will live a miserable life because
Mm.
the cost of living is very, very high, and you can't do a legal job without having some legal documents. Okay, so once you are not a student, I mean, the school will flag you like not a student. Nobody will catch you on the road, right? But you cannot take a job, you cannot do a legal job, stuff like that, right? So you want to be sure that in as much as you're trying to leave the country, let it be within you that you are living for a greater cause to better yourself, right? So that said, what you want to see in your SOP is more of the problem you want to solve. So what is the problem? So in this case, SOP, right? So what is the problem you want to solve? Maybe you saw the level of pollution in the country or where you're staying, and this got into your heart. You're like, oh, we can solve this, and then now you want to tell us the antecedents to that interest, right? So probably you have taken a course that expanded your knowledge on how you could solve this problem, right? Or probably maybe there was a particular course you took that triggered your interest in solving that problem or giving that problem a second thought, right? After that, you want to tell us, okay, because of that interest, you did your undergraduate thesis in that research area to solve that problem, right? So you are not telling us that you are not trying to give us a title. You are not interested in the title of your thesis. That's what most people write. They just write the title. No, the man doesn't have time for that. Instead of writing the title of your thesis, you want to write what inspired you to work on that thesis, what were the things you were trying to solve with that thesis, um, what was what's the word? Yeah, I mean the what inspired you then. Maybe I'm trying to remember. Yeah, what's the novel stuff you were able to achieve with your work? Maybe people have done this particular stuff and this stuff, but you are coming from this direction, which is novel, right? Because research is all about novelty. You're
Mhm.
trying to tell the man that you understand what novelty means. So you don't stop there. You want to tell the man the methodologies you applied in doing that thesis, right? Now, the essence of telling him those stuff is not for you to brag about your thesis. It's for you to tell him that you know how to do research. One, two is that you're experienced in these methodologies. So maybe the man says, oh yeah, I think this grant we got yesterday, we need someone that is skilled in characterization. And this guy is skilled in characterization, you understand it. Let's take him. Other than imagine you just wrote your thesis, the man does not know whether you use a particular characterization techniques to do that stuff, or maybe you use a particular approach to it. But when you mention the way you used it to do blah blah blah, and at the end of it, you always tie the notes to how that skill is translatable to your PhD or to your master's or to whatever you want to do where you're going to. So, like I said, SOP is more of tell us about your past,
Mhm.
or tell us about your past. Let me use that word. Tell us about your present past. Tell us about your present, and tell us how you apply that to the future, right? So when I mean past, some can go as far as maybe when they were a child or something like that. Although
Mhm.
that's becoming the cliche. When I was a child, it's becoming the cliche. So avoid it. But your past could be like maybe growing up, you saw the level of pollution, you saw the level of air pollution, or maybe quoting a research. I think in my thesis, and sorry, in my SOP, I kind of quoted like WHO word on air pollution. Like, I mean, according to the WHO, like 60% of deaths are caused by air pollution, especially for the infants, and it's bound to increase to around like 80% by 2030. So that was like that was like this striking note, and instead of
Mhm.
me going down to say that, hey, and I was a child, but I now related that to my environment. So, like in Lagos, where I grew up, Lagos is the busiest city, is the most populated
Mhm.
city in Nigeria. I think probably the third in Africa. So, if not the first in Africa. So imagine the constant pollution coming from the use of um, second and vehicles, especially because those second-hand vehicles they don't have good. I don't want to go into those technical terms, but that reduce
Exhaust pipe
the
and
level of
that comes out.
emissions. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. Yeah, so. imagine that. So I'm trying to like tailor the problem to what I have done. That is, I've worked on heterogeneous catalysis in converting waste cooking oil to biodiesel. So you can see, so you're trying to tell us the past, tell us the present, tell us what you have done, tell us how you want to, what do you want to do, and
Mm,
why do you think you have what it takes to do what you want to do, right? So it's more about what I want to do. So have a picture of what you want to do at grad school or in grad school. The best way to know what you want to do is to check on the school's page. Go straight to the research areas. Of every school has on their page the research area in each department. Check the research area. Check the different research they are doing in the school. Look for the one that interests you, right? So when you see the one that interests you, read that prompt over and over and see, okay, what have I done that relates to this research area? Then look at the professors in that research area. Are they the ones you would like to work with? For instance, imagine you're interested in catalysis and the school you're applying to does not do anything on catalysis. I mean, nobody in the entire faculty does anything on catalysis. I mean, they will not give you a second look. I
mm,
mean, I even had challenges applying to the likes of MIT. I knew within at the back of my mind that I would not get in because I checked the entire profile of the faculty. Nobody was doing anything uh, on catalysis or things that I've done that I have strength in. What they are doing is purely biology, and they call it a chemical engineering department. But I mean that's the way the US is. Like I said, I'm doing something bio focus. But so like I said, I knew I was not. But I didn't mean that maybe I knew define that okay, you could still write your SOP to reflect on something that you don't really have strength in, but you can narrow the passion to because I was really passionate about biology,
mm,
but I mean synthetic biology, but I mean I never had that much strength, so I don't know how I could push for that, right? But thankfully, I'm doing that in my school now. But I'm just trying to tell any other person that's applying that you are passionate about something, even though maybe you don't have your negative thesis is not on that area, you can still try and narrow it, or I mean, you can still try and merge it, or you could write some publications, or you could mm, maybe just do one or two, or take courses online that can
mm.
reflect your interest in that area. So probably if I've done that, I've gotten to a mic. I never know. I mean, there are a lot of, but I am so much happy with where I am in because of the professor I'm working with is is one of the few that are inducted into the National Academy of Engineers. That's the highest recognition an engineer could ever get,
Yeah.
and is an expert in the areas of protein chromatography, which is on my research area. So I'm working with the best in my research area. So that's why I came to the school in the first place.
Mm.
So, like I said, for SOP, it is more about this thing. So, for if you need more details on that, you could check my LinkedIn page. I took my time to give information on how you can go about that. And just if that is not sufficient, you could use the links that I provided. So,
I've
yeah,
used your Google Drive, so I've gone on your profile to put the Google Drive. I just had a look. There's a lot on there. So if
yeah,
you
yeah.
need samples, there's the link in the comment section to Peter's Google Drive, so that you can get different samples, including SOPs and other stuff on there.
Yeah. So let me add a caveat. It's not my Google Drive, right? I think I put
Okay.
the caveats in the post. Okay, so it's from International Student Foundation something, right? So it helped me while I was applying. So I since it's shared without any restriction, as I decided to share it too. But I still put the caveat that I'm not the original author of that. I don't take credit for things
Credit
I'm
for
not.
it. All right. Okay. No worries.
Yeah. Okay. So I think
I think you got
I should be done. Yeah.
somebody wants you to mentor them because they're trying to get in a program in your school. So if you could guide them, Pascal.
Oh, Pascal. Okay. Yeah. I mean, we'll discuss that in my DM. I mean, I really can't say. It's really a busy period now, especially now that it's exam period for me. However, like I said, I would keep posting, and if I found of interest, I never can tell, I could change my mind. There are some people that I never wanted to mentor in the journey, but I'm the kind of person that is spiritual, and I just felt like, oh, hey, I had a leading. Okay, you have to do this. You have to go all the way out for this person
Mm.
because it's really a lot of work. But I'll always be glad to help.
Yeah. And those that are asking for the replay and the link and stuff, I'll put the link to the YouTube page, which will make it easier for you to keep watching. Because I think with LinkedIn, with all the impressions and stuff, it can get off your feed. So I'll put the link to the YouTube page for the replay after the program.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's my. Let me be sure that's my last slide. Okay, yeah, okay, this is the last slide, I think, yeah. So the conclusion of the matter is this: that in the end, which university you attend is not as important as the person you work with. Please and please make your research on the faculty you want to work with. Okay, make your research. In my case, my school operates in a way that when you come in, you're not joined to any faculty. You are given ample time to select your advisor, uh, because I'm practically on the fellowship, so there's no push to do anything, maybe an RA or TA. But you have to continue, you have to get an advisor as soon as possible. Which the school will guide you on. So I made sure that I knew so much about my faculty before coming. And the ways you could do that is to use LinkedIn. So
Mhm.
before coming to ROPI, like I said, some people would think, oh, Polytechnic, why ROPI? I thought I got offers into University of Florida, University of Notre Dame, University of Oklahoma, and other schools like that. So the thought would be like, okay, why not go for University of Florida? Why not RP? Why RPI? I looked at both schools. The school that had the faculty who is doing so much well in my research area was RPI. That was Professor Kramer, Steve Kramer, and the man has a lot of patents. It's like most of the students that switch from academics straight to the industry because they are outkick based on the kind of research he does. So I just told you about how interesting the person is, how great he is, but I didn't stop there. Before making my decision, I reached out to a student on LinkedIn while I was still in Nigeria. I
Okay.
connected with them. I asked them many questions about the professor. I asked him, how can I fit into this lab? I like this man, but I really need to be sure that I will enjoy my stay working with this man and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I did. Even when I came to the university, since I'm not joined any professor at the beginning of the program, I communicated with everybody, almost everyone in his lab to really confirm. And after the conversation with him, he was also interested in me because one, I have done much research about him. So I know what he wants, I know what to tell him, I know how to sell myself to him because I really wanted to work on this research and I got into his lab. Yeah. So and I'm enjoying what I'm doing because you cannot do it 5 years or 6 years in the best school that you think it is working with a professor that is making life miserable for you. I'm telling you, you will. The thing is that you cannot voice out.
Mm.
Although you can voice out to the school, but when I mean like voice out, is that you cannot tell your colleagues that maybe in Nigeria or in Ghana or in other part of the country that, gosh, I want to come back home. I mean, they'll tell you, but that's stay with it all. Manage it like that, but you're living in hell, and it's a very long hell that you don't want to live in. So make sure you know the person you want to work with.
Work
It's
with.
very much important. Yeah. So that's my end notes. Yeah.
Mm. Right. So I think we've done well to answer most of the question, if not all that was being put in a comment. Thank you so much, Peter. There's been a lot of information. Like, I mean, to absorb it in, there's a lot that you've said, and they're all very personal to you and what has helped you, and it's very informative. So I think the last question that we were not able to answer was to do with a management. One sec. I think I've lost it, but so he's in management and he's asking if he has to do the GRE and another one. Where is it? That, I've lost that comment, but it was to do with the management. I can't remember everything, but he was asking if he should do. Wait, let me see if I can find it. If he should do the GRE and I think it's a management, another management um certificate or something. One sec. Those are asking for the slides. I've shared the link to the YouTube page. How did I lose this comment? One sec. But then I have a question for you, Peter.
Okay.
So with it looks like you had a very smooth process. I mean, I keep telling people everybody's journey is different. The fact that Peter hasn't or doesn't didn't get any um difficulties or whatever does not mean it's like that everywhere, or Peter didn't
Okay.
see it as everybody sees problems different or stumbling blocks different.
Yeah, I didn't talk about my
Comment
difficult.
at the beginning, I was like, bang on. It's how you see it. Like somebody probably would have had the same opportunities you had and would make it look like they had to move heaven and earth to get to the program. Whereas you, from your comment that you made at the beginning, I was like, okay, it's just positive and but yes, so if you can share a little bit about your journey, that would be great.
Okay, yeah. So let me think about the management stuff.
Oh, I think yeah,
Uh,
GRE and GMAT.
yeah, GMAT. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is check the school's website. That is the best place you can get your information from. So that's why I said you need to check the list of schools. Sometimes uh, it is from this search that you would know if you should include a school in your list or not. Because some schools might say you must do GMAT, and some will say you should do GRE. So, for instance, if you know you cannot do both GRE and GMAT because I mean they're quite expensive. So, if you decide to take GRE, right, you know that you only apply to the schools that require you to take GRE. I'm talking about those in the management space. It is almost like mandatory for them. I think it's mandatory for most. Yeah, so you have to take GRE. That means that you cannot apply to schools that would ask that demands GMAT. And if peradventure the list of schools that you have that we require you to take GMAT is more than the schools that we take that require GRE, then take GMAT. Like I said, it is more about you strategizing. Okay, so that's for the GRE or GMAT. Check the school, check with the school. And at the same time, the school that waive it, also check. Don't conclude easily until you have done a lot of check. Don't conclude. That's one. Concerning the skills for like the management students, having a CFA, I mean, there are some things that will speak volume than even a publication for the management student. Maybe having some certifications like FMVA, that's financial modeling valuation assessments. I can talk about management because I my mentor was a management person, is a management person, and I worked in one of the big fours, right? That's KPMG. So I really love management by say. So I'll consider you if you can apply to if you can take CFA Investment Foundation, or if you are CFA that's Corporate Finance Analyst, and is it analyst or analyst? Yeah, if you can get the level one, which is quite difficult, but I mean that proves that oh you're really focused on what you want to do. So the likes like BIDA, uh, That's business intelligence, data analysis. So they are different skills that you can build that are related to your field. So another thing I do is that whenever I want to go to whenever I want to apply for something, I go to people's LinkedIn page, right? That are modeling what I want to be or what I want to do. So I check. I'm not so flamboyant. I'm not taken away by your achievement on your LinkedIn, right? So what I do, I just go straight to your profile, look for the skills or the courses you take or the special certifications you took. In fact, I can tell you that most of the certifications I took during my early stage of the career, I'm still in my early stage of career, obviously, but at the early stage of my career was through checking people's LinkedIn profile. In some of those courses, I will see the link to those courses and I'll click on it, check it out. If it's something I can pay for, I pay for it. If it's most have always been free. And I will just take the course, add that to my portfolio, continue again. So for those in the management arts, look for people who are in your area, check their profile. It's not every time you have to tell them to mentor you. Sometimes going through their profiles, seeing what they have done, and trying to replicate what they have done will be a very good help to you. So, and a bit about my journey. So I tend not to talk about my journey like difficult because I've always seen, like I told Afra when we started the conversation, I said the obstacle has become the way for me. So I really don't say too much in the problem, but let me just give you a bit about my story. So I'm from a very average family. If I'm using the word average, it's just to paint the picture very good. Yeah. So uh, do I need to go this far? Okay. So let me just try to not go too far. In fact, let me just during my high school, uh, I went to yeah. So okay, let me just try Peter. Let me try. How many minutes do I have? Let me know. How short I should make the story or how long I should make the story. Well, let me say the story within 10 minutes. Okay, so I don't want to try to give a motivational story because some people do it, right? But let me just be factual with myself. I mean, that's for us what I do. It's the reason why I'm passionate about all these things I've been doing all this while. It's because yeah, so growing up, I've been privileged to be smart. I did well in my primary school or grade basic education. So I think I applied to a school. So there's one top school around my area, and I got scholarship to like join the school. Like the tuition will be paid for. The only thing I need to pay for is just my textbooks and uniform and the likes. But they only pay for the first year. So my basic 8, 9, I'll be the one to pay for that down to the SS1 to 3 in some countries or different categories in high school, right? Yeah, so my parents could not afford that. They looked at the sustainability. Yeah, they could try to afford the first year, but what happened to the following years, right? So I went to a government school, and luckily for me, in Lagos, that was during the era of Governor Babajide Raji Fashola. So he completely revolutionized the educational system, such a way that the government schools were almost in strike competition with the private school standard. So I was lucky in that period because prior to that, government schools were nothing to write about in terms of the standard, right? So, but I was in government school and I was privileged to attend a particular tutorial, like in addition to my studies in that government school. So, like to complement everything. However, paying for my school, paying for my tuition fee was a problem too, right? So sometimes I mean, how tutorial centers work. if you cannot pay for it, you're sent away or you're flogged and stuff like that. So in my SS1, in my SS1, I remember the coordinator reached out to me, the coordinator of the tutorial reached out to me that, okay, Peter, you're smart, blah, blah, but you are lagging behind in paying your
Mm.
fees. Do you mind taking up the role as a helper, or we call them like, let me try to look for a Polish word, but actually let me let me call it spade a spade. It's, I mean, it's obviously just you clean. I mean, because it's a big
Mm.
space, the the students, they employ students to do the job of cleaning everywhere. You clean everywhere, you arrange the chairs, you wash the toilets, you make sure everywhere is neat. So you come early before students come to arrange everywhere.
Mm.
When students are leaving, which we close very late at night, you don't live with them. You have to arrange everywhere, right? So it's stressful, but you don't pay tuition fee. I mean, for the tutorial. So it's just a free ride for
Yeah.
you. All you need to do is to do the job,
Labor.
right? Can I say I'm saying free ride? It sounds like free, but it's not
No.
free because I remember I was like the senior prefect male in my school, and because I was doing very well in school, and most um, teachers will recommend my tutorial to the parent of most student that comes over. So you know that kind of stuff that you're the senior prefect, you tell your junior, please can you raise up your leg? I want to sweep the floor. And the guy will try to feel pity for me. I said, please don't feel pity for me. I don't need your pity. I'm
Mm.
not I chose the right path because although it was a secret for me, I was still getting the money that they would pay
Mhm.
me for the tutorial. For the tutorial. I didn't really tell my parents like that. But just that even though it comes very late, it doesn't matter because I was using the money to buy textbooks. I had a lot of textbooks I was reading. Yeah, so I think because I knew the only way I could change the situation for my family was through education. That
Mm.
was what I thought as my only hope. Yeah, so I focused on that. I didn't ignore. I didn't focus on the shame that comes with doing all this stuff. And yeah, down to the university, it was still probably like that. And yeah, I faced many struggles because I during my undergrad it was work and study. I think I have some few people that might know me on this conversation. I mean, they can attest to that, right? I literally worked and studied throughout. When I mean work, I was taking tutorials. I had to write
Mm.
materials, not because, yeah, I love to teach, because I have to remind myself if I don't write a material for students to read, or if I don't make use of my intellect, I would starve. So I just have to make use of it. So the big picture here is I don't think God has left anyone stranded,
Mm. Mm.
right? God will always put in you what can help you survive the stuff.
Yeah.
So anytime I'm hungry or anytime I am starving, I ask myself, what is it that I have in me
Mm.
that I'm not using?
Mm.
So
This
I
one.
kind of just go back and use it. Yeah. Okay, someone is even calling me my school name, that's Sector K. I mean, they call me Sector K in school there. So that it was a disguised name.
Mm.
So you don't know who's the person selling the materials. I tell you that, oh, I mean, right from my 100 level, my first year, I I had to do this because I could survive. And I had a small stature. I was in my first year. I was very good in mathematics. But if I tell you I was the one that wrote the math lecture notes or the math material, you wouldn't have bought it because I mean it's the first year plus. If I tell you it's Septo K that wrote it, you don't know it's Septo K. You just have to buy it. And it really
Branded.
yeah, it really helped a lot of people. So I mean, people were going to night class to read. I have to go and sell the materials to survive. Yeah, so that fueled my journey throughout. And I was at 400 level. That was my penultimate year. Like I said, I'm a spiritual person. When I'm a spiritual, I'm a Christian. So everything I've done so far in life has been led. So in my fourth year, I got a nudge into my spirit that I am going for a PhD. Right.
Nice.
So how I will get there, I never knew how, right? Because I knew my background. I knew I got even to this point. I knew there was a particular time that every food I eat, I can smell my sweats in that food. So I was like, how do I go this? But I mean, when the instruction came, okay, you'll be going for this. Okay, fine, no problem. The next thing I asked my creator was, okay, what is my role in this process? My own role is just to get a minimum of a 4.8. That was the instruction. I said, okay, 4.8. We work towards that. I remember reaching out to my course advisor in my final year that, sir, I'm on a goal. My goal is to get a minimum of 4.8. He thought I
Mm.
was stupid or he thought I was mad. Like, what's wrong with this guy? Why
So
would you come and meet
crazy.
me and tell me that you want to get a 4.8? I mean, you
Mm,
can just do that at your home and just aim for it, right? But I just had to reach out to him because I knew what I wanted, right?
mm,
Not that he's going to help me, but the fact that when he's your course advisor, will be able to put you on your tools. Like, and I
mhm.
remember when my final CGPA came out, even before it was officially released, he gave me a call that Peter, the goal was achieved. You got above 4.8. I was like, oh,
Wow.
yeah,
Wow,
I never even knew.
that's good. That's good.
Yeah, I never even knew that I would end up becoming the best graduating student, which was never in my plan in the first place. So I did my part, and I mean that's where everything just God just made provision for everything.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah, so after that, different opportunities came on board. It wasn't easy. I won't lie to you. I remember working as at one of the big fours as KPMG. Uh, like I said, on the other side of trying to pursue my academic journey, I knew that I need to work somewhere, I mean, somewhere top notch that can
Yes.
boost my CV. And to get there was not easy. So like I said, the same trick I told you, I went to, I think I made a post on my LinkedIn on how to get into any course, any big company you would desire. I made a post on that, on how you can go to use Forage, how you can check people's profile to
Mm.
see the courses you can take and stuff like that. That was the strategy I used. So I
Wow.
did so many stuff while I was an undergrad,
You're a
so many
survivor.
stuff because I knew that, gosh, nobody is there to help me. I have to put in the work. Yeah, so I did that, and while working in KPMG, like it was purely finance, and I'm going for a PhD in engineering, finance engineering. I don't think relates, right? I love
Mm.
finance. That's why I went for it. But I still knew that I
You
love
love
finance for the
finance
sake of
because you're Nigerian.
no, not because I'm Nigerian. No, I love finance because I wanted to. I am an entrepreneur, so I still want to build my own company. The essence of going to this PhD is not to get a job. I want
Yeah.
to build my own company with the research skills I've gathered. So I need to have a feel of what it takes to feel in. So when you work as an auditor, you'll be able to see, you'll be able to audit a company. When you're auditing a company, you'll be able to
Mm.
see the flaws in the
Mm-hmm.
company. So I'll be able to see what will make my business
First
fail
hand.
if it
Yes.
starts. Yeah, so
That's
that's why I
good.
went for that. Yeah, so while working on that, I knew that sticking to my role as auditor would not help me achieve my main goal. So I
Mm.
have to take up another role as a research assistant. This time it was a virtual research assistant. So imagine the demand that comes with working with a big four
Mm.
and now working as a researcher. So
Mm.
I work during the day and I do my research during the night.
Really nice.
So it was hell. It was hell. I mean, I do not sleep, and I'm not trying to. I mean, I sleep barely 5 hours. I'm not trying to paint it. Even while I got into so during that period, that was during my service year. After I finished my service year, that's the compulsory national youth service in Nigeria. So I got into Dangote refinery. That's the Africa's largest refinery and the
Mm-hmm.
world's
Mm-hmm.
largest single train facility. So while working as a process engineer, I still knew where I was going. This time I'd already gotten my admission to the
Okay.
schools, but I don't want to come to a school and struggle. So I needed to build some skill sets that will help me in the journey, right? So instead of just focusing on the good pay I've been receiving, I had to wake up 4 a.m. to take my online courses,
Wow.
then prepare for work every day in the bus. I mean, I think I have done a good job of making my life very visible to the world. If you check my entire LinkedIn profile, you can tell about my story.
Yeah.
Just go back, go back, go back, go back, go back, go back. You'll see my entire story. So I made sure to document my journey as I go through.
Mm,
So
mm.
on one of the certification I got, I explained I got it was basically utilizing the traffic hours in Lagos. If you know Lagos, Lagos is very traffic
Mad.
oriented. So I use those hours to take many of my certifications, and I think that also helped me in my application. Yeah, so like I said, it's about what you can bring to the table.
Mm.
So since I understand that, I ensured that I was fine tuning myself to be ensured that, to be able to bring something substantial to the table. So that's just my story. Yeah, I try to make it that brief. Yeah.
Wow, wow, wow. That is one hell of a story. If you're still with us, and even if you didn't listen to the whole program and you just listened to Peter's story, I mean, it sums it all up. Nothing comes without sacrifice. You see all of these people on LinkedIn with a whole pile of achievements, and you just feel it's easy, and it's never easy until you really sit down and talk to someone for them to actually pour their heart to you. That's when you know that this has been built on blood and sweat. And I admire you, Peter. Trust me. When we started
Thank
talking,
you.
I said I've looked at your profile and I admire you. You are one of
Thank you.
one of the people out there that is giving people hope, believe it or not. Because I mean, look at where you started and look at where you are now. And it's good to see how humble you still are, and also able to not be shy of your roots and how you've made it. You're so happy even sharing it. It's amazing. And this is what changing the narrative is all about. As we share our story, as we share our journey, it is to let other people know who are maybe finding themselves in the middle of that journey and wanting to give up, that hey, it's never, ever, ever too late. The journey has just begun. You can only keep moving. And Peter, thank you so much for coming and sharing your
Thank
story. It's been an amazing evening with you. And those that are still watching us, thank you. Every month we try to bring someone on to share their journey. So changing the narrative is the program, and we try to do a lot on education, because I'm a champion of education. Because like Peter, you said the only way you felt you could change your family was through education. You can't, like, education is
Yeah. Yes.
you can take anything and everything from people, but you cannot take that knowledge, like your research that you're getting now,
Exactly. Yeah.
the skills you've built for yourself. You can make money out of your skills from anywhere in the world that you are. And now listening to you, I feel like I need to try and list my skills on what to add now. Yes. Look, so the thing is crazy, because I was looking at all these stuff that I wanted to do, and I realized, oh, I need to go back and do this course. I need to try and see if I can watch a YouTube on this one and that one, because things keep changing and the world is moving at
Yeah.
a crazy pace. That as soon as you close your eyes, something you think you know has changed. Is like 2.0, 12.0, 8.0. It keeps changing. You have to
Yeah.
you have to keep up with it, and that skill is what will keep you going. So thank you so much once again, Peter. I've loved you so
Thank
much.
you.
I've loved your energy, your enthusiasm, your knowledge. I've loved everything. So thank you, and again, thank you all for sticking with us and sharing your Sunday evening with us. We'll meet again next month. I'll post my next guest. I'm still in talks with them. I've been quiet for some time because of work, but yes, I'll bring the date out properly. So once again, thank you all, and thank you again, Peter, for sharing your journey. It's been
He has a privilege. Yeah. Thank you.
yeah. So have a good night, everybody, or have a good day, depending on the country that you are. Until we meet again, thank you. Don't forget to share the
Yeah.
link
Thanks.
and the whole event, so that other people would also watch it and learn from it. So thank you and goodbye.